From Independence Hall, on the campus of the National Guard Professional Education Center, this is the Leadership Minutes. Our guest for today's podcast is Colonel Carrie Perez, Commander of the 36th Sustainment Brigade, Texas Army National Guard. I'm Sergeant First Class Jim Houston. Hosting today's podcast is the Commander of the Professional Education Center, Colonel Leland Blanchard.
I would like to welcome everyone to today's episode of our PEC podcast, where we take the opportunity to talk to leaders at all levels and people who have interesting things to provide, insights. And so we're just going to jump right in. Today, we are fortunate to be joined by Colonel Carrie Perez. Now, Colonel Perez, you and I go back a little ways, so we've known each other for a while. And as we were talking earlier, kind of laying out your two jobs and all the free time that is on your hands. So as a brigade commander and simultaneously the chief of staff, why don't you tell us a little bit, start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do. What does that mean to everybody?
Sure. So I'm the 36th Sustainment Brigade commander in the great state of Texas. So what I have there from that perspective is I have about 1,800 soldiers, mostly sustainers, some medical capabilities, and what we do is we plan and support theater level operations, which is really exciting to me. So I've had a background of being at the tactical level of logistics all my career. So this jump to the Sustainment Brigade Command has been a big one for me and a little bit more eye-opening because you don't understand theater support and theater sustainment until you actually have to do it and lead a staff through that.
So you're responsible for making sure it happens.
I am, yeah. And so we support things like CENTCOM, like geographic combatant commands, with our sustainment brigades. So we are aligned to right now 36th Infantry Division. Informally, we will be formally aligned with the division sustainment brigades here soon. So really excited about that as well. And I get to lead now at Brigade Command. I get to lead managers as opposed to company commanders, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a few. But the other job that I have, and I've been very fortunate in the state of Texas to have gotten some broadening opportunities as the division chief of staff for a little while, and now I'm the chief of the joint staff in the Texas Military Department. That is a huge responsibility, so really working for the Adjutant General, making sure that all of the Texas Military Department needs are met. And through this past 12 to 16 months, been very busy on emerging short-term requirements from
I'm not sure if 12 to 16 months qualifies as short-term, but in today's world.
In today's world, right? So we've been supporting the DISCA operations from COVID mobile testing teams to civil disturbance operations at the state, the state capitol, historic sites and landmarks of interest around the state in the June 2020 timeframe. We've now transitioned from testing teams to mobile vaccination teams.
Sure.
And so we're in the thick of that as well. We also support the governor and anything else that he needs from border support, or most recently in Texas, the winter weather event that we had, and I got to be the Task Force Storm commander in addition to my two other roles.
So they decided wearing two hats every day.
Every day was not enough,
okay.
Right? And so I think I have a unique position, right, in all of my positions. However, from a larger perspective, maybe active component or Title 10 perspective. But what I would say is in the States, this is par for the course. Yeah. 06s in the States are expected, especially AGR 06s, be more specific, are expected to wear dual rules, and so we don't get AGR authorizations from the Army to be commanders. So we have to be something else for the state that impacts readiness, while we're taking that responsibility for a command and for the soldiers. So that's it, and just to expand a little bit more about me. As I've been on active component, I've been an M-Day officer, and I've been a Title 32 AGR, and I am a Title 10 AGR as well. I'm managed by the Title 10 program.
You are continuing to add things to your plate. I mean, how big is that plate? And seriously,
right.
And I know you're going to talk a little bit about this, but I think it's one of those things that I think when you are a junior leader, perhaps, because you're trying to get your career started, and you're trying to set up your family, and you got all these things going on, and they don't necessarily see you. You're the colonel, right? So
right.
They don't realize you're also balancing all of these
right.
things.
Right.
You've got a family. You
right.
know, and of course your husband is
right. Right.
Also engaged with,
yes,
with a lot of things.
So from my what I will tell you, so I'm in a dual military household with a blended family, which makes things even more fun, and an 11-year-old that lives with us. So how do we balance that? Balancing mobilizations, balancing PCS moves. I've moved my daughter back and forth between Austin and DC for Title 10 requirements, and then to come back to be a battalion commander, and now to be a brigade commander. And so how do I keep her resilient? How do I be that mom but fulfill everything professionally? And I'll tell you, I really I'm very fortunate in the fact that I do have a partner who understands what I'm going through, because he's a Title 10 AGR as well, and he's wearing 3 hats. So he is a battalion commander, he is a brigade OIC full-time, and he's also the task force capital commander there for the civil disturbance, the continuing civil disturbance presence that we have there at the Austin Capitol. So we're just used to, and what I try to tell people from the active component is this is what we do. We don't just have one job, and on top of that, my husband's doing DL War College.
That's right.
which is what we were expected to do, which is what that's just the expectation for us. And so we don't say it's too hard. I think we're unique in the Army National Guard is that we just go, okay, what else do we have to do, and how do I manage my day? How do I manage my battle rhythm? So I think we are, from a planning predictability perspective, we do a pretty good job, barring the past few months of having that predictability for our soldiers, for our officers, of, here's all the stuff that's going to be on your plate, and here's what your career may look like. But if we all wanted to go to resident war college and not have to do it DL. That would have been exceptional for all of us, but that's just not the case, and that's not where the resources come. So how do you
that's not always what the organization needs, right?
That's absolutely true.
As you're wearing all those hats because all those things are required of an organization that has a dual purpose, right? We're both serving our communities and the nation, and so just as a guardsman, you're always going to have those things. So wow. God bless you.
So I mean, it's fun. My days go pretty fast, and time goes pretty fast. So, and I'll just kind of take it to another level as well, to kind of speak to young officers with maybe like the start of a family, but also women. So we're very fortunate in Texas. The Army National Guard in each state is representative of the demographics in each state. So in Texas, we are very fortunate to have a very diverse Army National Guard and Texas Military Department as a whole. And one which lends itself to several females, several minority demographics in there. And so what I would tell you from the current environments is that, as a female, what is incumbent upon me as a female, as a leader, is to make sure that I'm looking down and bringing up officers behind me of all demographics, and making sure our organization stays diverse, not only from the physical, the gender, race, ethnicity, but also from the thoughts, the socioeconomic, and then from a leadership perspective. Then, what does that mean to me? It means that I have to know my force, and then be able to talk to my force. Not every company commander is the same, and so kind of going off on another leadership perspective is that between the battalion and brigade levels, there's a significant difference in how I've perceived it, how it's impacted me. As a battalion commander, it was a lot of fun. I got to be down in the trenches I was sleeping out in the field with
the best job ever.
It's the best job ever because, one, everybody listens to you. You're not a captain.
And you get to know, but you personally know every single person in your formation. You get that opportunity.
You do. And I knew all my lieutenants. I got to mentor them on a regular basis and counsel them, and I knew all my company commanders, my command teams, and I was, engaged with them so much. As a brigade commander, I would offer it as a much different role. One, administratively, I no longer get to send things to brigade. So I have to deal with, I'm the decider on so many administrative things. And then it is very difficult. It's a struggle. And in Texas, we have a kind of a mantra through the past years: you got to fight to train, because things will get in your way, and COVID and everything, things will get in your way, and you have to fight to train. But, I also have to fight to counsel and fight to get to my people, because as a brigade commander and as an 06 at the state, you get pulled for a lot of things. Your job is to look up and out and provide guidance to those managers, to those battalion commanders, right? Not necessarily interacting with them like you interacted with your captains as you were counseling them as a junior officer. I'm leading managers now, so that's a much different role than what it was as a battalion commander. And it took me a couple months to have that realization of the roles, the difference in the roles and responsibilities.
What's interesting about that is, so as you move up and now you have experience as a battalion commander, right? So you went through the trials and tribulations and all the things. So the value of your time, when you have that time to sit down and invest it in your subordinates and kind of guide them, mentor, counsel, but it's more limited. It's more limited than ever, but the impact that you can have is even greater. And it's that, again, it's I think you put it perfect. You got to fight to do that, because that's what we got to be about, is the next generation, and letting those junior leaders get access to all of your experiences, so they don't have to suffer through. Absolutely. Not that you made any mistakes, but anyone who served in my battalion, in my squadron, I made a few.
No, that's a good point. And we wouldn't be living the people first if we weren't, if that wasn't the case. And so I find myself saying this a lot, and I really don't like when people say this to me, is like, ma'am, I know you're really busy, but I'm never too busy for my people. But I find myself saying that to general officers sometimes. I say, I know you're really busy, and they go, I'm not busy. I'm not, and that's how I feel about it, and I'm never too busy.
Yeah, I always tell people when they say that, I say, you're the purpose of my work. So I'm never too busy, because my boss will have an issue if I'm not doing my work and taking care of you and solving those challenges or helping you. Right. So absolutely. Yeah. But you're right. It's that conflict, that constant conflict that good leaders like yourself struggle with. Like, I want to maximize every moment, and it's challenging. And so let me ask you this. So again, all those experiences that have come with time and opportunity, what would you tell your soldiers, your junior leaders, or what insights would you provide to that person who's looking and saying, well, I don't know, I mean, you're asking a lot of me, there's a huge investment, I'm looking forward, and I'm not sure what I should or shouldn't be doing to make the right choices. What would you offer, some insights as you look back, and in particular, as a woman, and some of the challenges and thankfully times are a little bit different today,
Sure.
right? I mean, we're smarter than we were, but some of those things that you had to fight through, what would you offer to some of those folks?
So let me start with my experience as a second lieutenant. So I was in 4th ID, which in 1999.
You didn't have to give the year. I wasn't going to ask the year.
No, it's okay. We were doing the Force 21.
Right.
So what that meant to the organization is they took the support roles out of the combat arms units and put them into the forward support battalion, specifically the forward support companies.
Right.
So I have a maintenance background. That's my passion. And so I fought to get into 4th ID and be a BMO for an armor battalion.
You fought for that position?
I did, and it was one
Good
of the
on you.
best positions. I
Really?
love it. I loved it. So I was the battalion maintenance officer for 366 Armor in 1st Brigade. So, but what I just wanted to do maintenance, but what I didn't understand is the dynamics of the male-female, because there wasn't that many females there, and I was the first armor BMO in the Army just because of the way we had transitioned. Two people in my mind stood out and that took me under their wing and started mentoring me was a good CW3 and a Sergeant First Class. So I had CW3 Kellum and Sergeant First Class Raypool, who took me under their wing and showed me what that looked like. And so what I say for that, even though sometimes you have sometimes there's the gender challenges, but that doesn't mean I needed another female to come alongside of me. I just needed somebody to tell me what right looked like.
Needed caring leaders.
I did need caring. I probably a lot of attention.
Well, caring can also be tough, right? You can be a tough but caring leader as well.
And then the other 2 points I would make to your question is that one I would say is you may not always like the job you have or the boss you have or the people that you have working for you. But this organization has been around for 400 years and will continue to move forward. And so all you have to do is really wait. Just wait just for a little bit, do the best you can, be the most professional, competent that you can at that job, and then things will change. Something will change. You will move positions. Your boss will move positions. Something changes. And so, again, kind of look for those mentors. Look for those good leaders. But what they can never take away from you is your competency, right? Things change in this organization. The environment changes, especially what we've seen recently. We have to be adaptable, flexible. We have to, again, focus on the people as leaders. But from a what can I do right now perspective is that you do the best job that you can in the job that you are. Have the passion for the organization, your responsibilities, the soldiers that you're taking care of. That way, they will see that, and if it's not the perfect environment, it'll change. And I've had great experiences, and I've had less than great experiences. I've had people that have taken care of me that were awesome bosses, and then I've had times where waking up to go to work in the morning gave me a bit of anxiety. So, I would say if you kind of stay the course sometimes, if you want to do this as a career, and even then, even if you don't know if you want to do this for a career. You just keep rowing and be exceptional at what you are at that moment, whether it's operations or logistics or admin or whatever that looks like. Just be exceptional at what you are and be passionate about it. And people will see that. That shines through. And then when you look down and you take care of people and you pull them up with you, it is the reason that our organization has been able to do what we have done in the past year is because we are those people. And I would say we have exceptional, especially in my opinion, excluding me, exceptional 06s in this organization that really are able to lead this organization.
I think, and so of course, as I've mentioned earlier, we've known each other. So I've watched you, and what has always been interesting for great leaders, and this applies to you as well. You by being focused on taking care of those around you and your soldiers, they never let you fail.
Right.
Like they just, because they know you're invested in them, and I've
Right.
watched you're invested in your soldiers, and you're willing to get in there and
Right.
duke it out when someone's not taking care of them. But your soldiers see that. They understand. They may not know that, that's what leadership is. They may not put the art and science
Right.
and really put definitions to it, but they know you care.
Right.
They feel it. And so when they see something coming your way or coming that they can deal with, they just step into the breach, so to speak, and they get after it. And I think that's, again, it comes down to when at the very beginning, you mentioned two people that you still remember
Absolutely.
these years later, and the impact that those leaders had on you, and they were both subordinate to you. So it's not
Right.
about rank and gender, but it is about understanding people's perspective, like
Right.
you said. And I want to ask you real quick about that, because 1,800 people from, now again, they're not all, so unlike if you were still at a Fort Hood or a Fort Carson, where you're all living in the same community, right? Kind of over time, you become this homogenous group of people. But in your case, you have people from all over the state of
Right.
Texas. And North Texas is not the same as Southern
Right.
Texas. And so how do you deal with that? And what are some of those unique challenges that, or maybe a challenge that surprised you?
Well, we are spread out from, I have units in San Antonio, El Paso, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, New Boston, which is, kind of working towards East Texas. So I was spread out all over the place. So what my realization and my comfort level has to be that I am relying on my subordinates, that I'm sending the right messages and that I'm saying the right things, that I am repeatable, that they can take the messages. I take the messages that my simple messages that my CG puts to us, and I repeat them and repeat them and repeat them, and I send them down.
That's great advice.
And so then I have to rely. And so I think this goes to personality and what your leadership style is. But I'm all invested in mission command. I believe if I create a positive command climate and I send the right messages down, I now have to trust my leaders below me. And they may need some course correction along the way. And I have a battalion commander that is out in front, keeps me informed of everything. And then I have another battalion commander that I kind of have to maybe pull along a little bit. But you're always going to have those, right? And so you have to understand what kind of leadership each one of those needs. But I can't do it myself. And I have, to your point of trusting your staff below you, I have a fantastic, loyal, in a good way, loyal staff that does keep me out of trouble. And I trust them implicitly. Like, they are just, wow. they are plan my training for me and keep me informed, and then say, ma'am, I need a decision from you, and here's my courses of action. And so I am in a very fortunate environment there, that I have great command teams, but then I also have to really reach down to those company command teams. And this hasn't, and I don't want to paint rainbows and sunshine everywhere. I've had to deal with sexual harassment, sexual assault claims, bad behavior. But you will have those experiences in command regardless of where you're at. So what do you do with that? Is that you understand that it is not in your decision space. You have no decision space when you have a SARC complaint, a sexual assault complaint. You do everything that you are supposed to do down to the letter, and so that makes that survivor understand that the command cares, that we hold people accountable, and that we take action, swift action. So it's taking care of people. But when you have these bad actors, that you do hold people accountable for their mistakes, and then you have to look at Maybe you don't crush somebody's career, but maybe you get them on. You get them back on a path. But you have to look at, again, you have to look at the totality of the person and the career and the profession of each one of those in each one of the aspects. And then, but when you have to make the hard decisions, I've made some hard decisions that, right, wrong, or indifferent. That was the decision I made. I would, offer it at any command level, is that you always keep your advisors close to you. You keep a pulse on that command climate, and then you keep your advisors close to you, because in any organization there may be people that make mistakes, but you have to deal with those so that you're fostering that trust inside your organization, and that you can't say enough that you treat people with dignity and respect.
Absolutely.
It's got to be this constant conversation.
I'll tell you what, you mentioned a lot of things. You talked about loyalty, trust, messaging, communication, making and standing behind your hard decisions. Being accountable to yourself, holding others accountable. All the things that again, when we're lieutenants or when we're sergeants, and you go through some PME, and it's more about the science of it, right? Okay, here's a formula. Someone does this,
right?
And as you've taken those experiences, and it's become more art.
Right.
What you talked about is sometimes you gotta, maybe you're more compassionate or less compassionate.
Right.
So that's amazing. Well, I got to tell you, so we appreciate your time. One last thing that I'd ask you to share, and aside from any closing thoughts, but if you could go back and talk to yourself, maybe as you were preparing to take company command, what advice would you go back and tell a young captain that was getting ready? What would you say to her?
What I've realized through command, especially coming up through the levels of command, is that I don't think I understood at company command how many people were watching me. And so as a company commander, you tend to be a little bit more emotional, passionate about things in your decision making.
Very
you're
black
down
and white.
There, yeah, and you're
Crush
down.
them all.
Yeah, you're down there with the troops. So what I would say is that, as a company commander, one, I think I relied on my NCOs, but I don't know if I fully understood how to really use my first sergeant. So I kind of was relying on my readiness NCO to give me information, and some the E5s and things like that. And I was taking a lot of information in from a lot of places, but I don't know if I was utilizing my first sergeant to the full potential, right? And so that's one thing, is understanding what that first sergeant can do for you. And I think, looking across the force now and all the courses that we have and what we do, especially inside of Texas, is we have company command team courses, we have battalion command team courses, we have OIC courses. So I think we're doing a lot more of the training for that. So I think that would have been one thing. And
Nice.
I had an armory all by myself as a company commander, so that was that allowed me to kind of roll my own my own house there.
Yeah.
So it was a great experience. But then two other things: being responsive to the battalion. I don't think at sometimes I was kind of like maybe somewhat nonchalant about, oh, you need that? Okay, I'll get it to you because I was off there on my own island. And so I would say that. But going back to the first point, and I think it is the most important thing in commands, or looking at us. We watch general officers. People watch us. They look at us. They watch what we say. When I was in, where this really came into, I had this great realization. When I was a battalion commander, I would often hear, well, the BC said. And I would say, which BC? Because I didn't say that.
Right.
Or maybe I said something, somebody took it out of context. So when you speak, in a public forum, or where any around your subordinates or even your peers, that you're cognizant of what you're saying and you mean what you say. And that people say words have meaning. Words have meaning, and so you want to be deliberate about your communications. And at the company command, I think that's a little bit more, forgivable maybe. But as your battalion commander, especially a brigade commander, you have to have that awareness of what you're saying and who your audience is.
I think that's great, because I'll tell you, so they are watching, and so people will start to kind of get a sense of who you are. And so those things that you might not have said are either really believable because they match your actions,
right? Or
people will say, I just don't believe she said that because that's not who I've seen. I gotta tell you, thank you. This has been great. I appreciate your time. I think our soldiers and our family members are worth the investment, so we certainly appreciate it. And we'd love to have you back sometime. Maybe we'll come down and visit you in Texas.
Come down to Texas anytime you want.
It's not that far of a drive.
I'll put a big T patch behind us.
There you go. Well, again, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's been an honor, and I have a passion for leadership and sharing with people. So I really appreciate this opportunity.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thanks.